had plenty of great baseball over the weekend, too. And let me get to a couple things here to get us going. First off, right now, the Padres are out. Season's over. They're not making the playoffs. They just lost 3 straight games to the Phillies after they won on Friday night. They got ambushed in a doubleheader. A miserable day was the quote from Bob Melvin. He got ejected yesterday. They're 6 or 7 games under 500. I'll be very interested to see if they think about trading Soto in the next couple of weeks. He's going to want $500 million next year when he's a free agent. His agent, Scott Boras, so, he's going to go out there and do what he does and does a great job with it. So that's the scenario. They already have Bogarts and Tatis and Machado making $300 million apiece. It's obvious that that's not a recipe of success for the franchise. And if you trade Soto now, you might get yourself a lot of that resources and capital back that you lost last year when you got him to begin with the Nationals. I don't know if the Padres will do that, but it's something that you have to think about because they are not making the playoffs in 2023. We all know that. Anybody who follows, barring a miracle, and miracles have happened, but barring that, they are not making the playoffs here in 2023. And the same goes for the Mets. And I think the interesting scenario with the Mets is what they will do with Scherzer and Verlander. The Mets salvaged one yesterday against the Dodgers. The infield was up with 2 strikes on the bunt attempt, which was silly in the 10th inning. It cost them as ball was batted down the right field line and past, a diving Freeman, which would not have been the case. But most importantly, the Mets had a good performance out of Scherzer. Verlander was not good the day on Friday night, but they had a good performance out of Scherzer. They are going nowhere. They got a less of a chance than the Padres do because the Padres don't have a divisional winner who's 25 games ahead, as the Mets do. Do the Mets entertain moves to get rid of Scherzer and Verlander? All right, David Robertson's going to get traded. You're not going to get a lot back for him. Marte, if anybody wants him, fine. Canha, if anybody wants him, fine. If you really want to sit there and see if you get some draft capital and get some prospects back and build up the organization a la the Dodgers, which is what the owner has said over and over again, you would trade him to a team like Texas, who needs a pitcher in the worst way, a big starting pitcher with DeGrom out. So we'll see what the Mets decide to do with Scherzer and DeGrom because Scherzer and Verlander, because the Mets now, they're going to be a non-entity in New York. Most Met fans are Jet fans, and the Jets open up training camp this week, and they're going to be a huge story with Aaron Rodgers. So it'll be interesting to see how the Mets handle it now as far as the NL East is concerned. It's one of those years that just didn't click. What are you going to do? Those are the 2 big themes over the weekend. If you're worried about Arizona right now, the Diamondbacks got swept up in Toronto. They haven't played well for a long period of time, which in a lot of ways began with the Mets when they walked into Phoenix a couple weeks ago and swept them 3 straight games. Arizona's in some trouble. They're in 3rd place in the NL West, no longer in 1st or 2nd. They got ambushed by the Blue Jays, who have played well lately, and the Blue Jays, have put themselves in good postseason positioning. So where Arizona is right now would concern me. That is number 3. Number 4 would be Seattle. That's a terrible series for them. They got beat by Detroit 2 out of 3. They were fortunate to get out of the game yesterday with a win. Can't lose 2 out of 3 to the Tigers at home when you're trying to make the playoffs. They're only at 500. The Astros had a good series in Anaheim. The Astros in Texas are way ahead. Anaheim, they're only 3 or 4 games back of Houston, and they just beat them there 3 out of 4. But still, you got to start the second half better than that. And I would be worried about where Seattle is as far as the AL West is concerned. I don't think the Angels are trading Ohtani. I've been on that theme. I know there's always going to be speculation. Well, they're going to listen. That means absolutely nothing. Of course they're going to listen. If somebody picks up the phone and offers the Angels their whole team and every great prospect they got for Ohtani, they would probably trade him. But that's not going to happen. He's a 2-month rental. I would be surprised at the end of the day if the owner makes that move. I really would be surprised. That's going to be a lot of speculation over the next 2 weeks because he's out of there at the end of the year, and they are not making the playoffs either. So, and that was a terrible loss they had yesterday. 4 runs in the 9th inning after a good win on Saturday. Concerned about the Reds. Milwaukee went in there and beat them 3 straight games, 2 out of 3 last weekend in Milwaukee, 3 in a row earlier in the year in Cincinnati. The Reds struck out 50-something times in the last 4 games to the Brewers, and a lot of those strikeouts came out of the strike zone. Milwaukee's got very experienced pitchers who've been around a little while, and the Reds got a bunch of hackers who swing at everything, and they swung at a lot of pitches. I have a good buddy of mine who saw every Reds game this year against Milwaukee, and he said a big problem the Reds have against them is they swing at everything, and that costs them. Remember, they were shut out 3 straight times. I think it was 3 straight times spanning last weekend. Then they lost yesterday 4-3. Had a lot of trouble scoring runs against the Brewers. They're 0-6 against Milwaukee in their ballpark, and Milwaukee doesn't play there again this year. Cincinnati has one more series in Milwaukee at the end of July, and that is it, head-to-head for the remainder of the season. They trail by 2 right now in the National League Central, and a very, very good job. Very good job by the Brewers, who have pitched well. A little scary with Burns there on Friday night. He didn't know what the heat, what was going on. He had to take a pause. That was a little scary, but he went out there and he completed the innings. Devin Williams has had a great year as a closer. So a nice job by the Brewers. 2 games ahead of Cincinnati now, although that was a significant series this weekend in the NL Central. So he put that in the equation, too. And the Phillies did a good job, 3 out of 4. Baltimore, which I know Alana's going to talk about, did a good job as well. Mets, Padres concerned. Are they going to trade off some of their? I mean, they could trade Soto and Scherzer and Verlander. I mean, I don't think the Mets would trade them, but you could think about it. And obviously, Arizona back in the pack, issues for them. Seattle back in the pack, bad series against Detroit, issues for them. I don't think Ohtani is going anywhere. And a nice job out of the Brewers over the weekend in Cincinnati. They have owned them this year. They are 8-1 in the 9 games played so far.